from. This is another section with maa'm Tutu. Today we are looking at the third method of stock valuation, which is specific identification method. SIM. The specific identification method is basically used for products or goods that are relatively expensive. Goods like cars, motorcycles, computers, goods with model, product with model. So, in using the specific identification method, we look at each model specifically. We cannot use the weighted average method for such a goods because they are expensive. So basically, I want us to look at an example of calculating the closing stock using the specific identification method. I'm going to be looking at an example adapted from NSC November 2017. NSC November 2017. Shine Wheel Pty Ltd. You are provided with the information relating to Shine Wheel Pty Ltd for the 3 months ending 30 September 2020. The business trades in motorbikes and helmets. Beauty, the owner, wants to assess a stock record before any price increase. Required. On motorbike, we are required to calculate the value of closing stock of motorbike using the specific identification method. So let us use this method in calculating the value of the closing stock of the motorbike for this business. Now, if you check down what you will see, your information. Information A gives you the stock on hand at the beginning of the year, which is the opening stock. You can see there that only one model is left as the opening stock. We only have one model. This business trades in 3 models of motorbike. The 3 models of motorbike, we have A02 model, and then we have A03 model, as well as A04 model. Now, we are going to be considering the number of stock we have in each of these model. How many stock are available and how many stock were sold. Right. Now, if you check the A02 model, the A02 model forms our opening stock. So for A02 model, we have 12 units as our opening stock, and during the year, we purchase another 6 units. So the total units we have for A02 model stands at 18 units. Then A03 model, we only purchase 15 units. And then A04 model, we only have also 18 units, which was purchased during the year. So let us now look at our sales, the number of units sold from each of this model. The number of units sold from each of this model. So the number of units available is what we have here, and then we are going to minus the number of units sold. All right, for A02 model, we sold 8 units. For A02 model, we sold 8 units, so we're going to take out 8 units. For A03 model, we sold 11 units. And then for A04 model, we sold 10 units. So, if you consider how many, what are we going to have now as our closing stock? our closing stock for AO2 model, we are going to say 12 plus 6, which is 18, minus 8 that was sold. So the number of our closing stock here is 10 units. Then for AO3 model, we add 15, then we take out what? 11. Then our closing stock here will be 4 units. And then for AO4 model, we add 18, and then we sold 10. Our closing stock will be 8 units. So now to get the value of the closing stock, we multiply each model by the cost. The closing stock of each model we multiply by the cost price for each of the model. Now, the cost price per unit for AO2 is 24,300. And then for AO3 we have 27,400. And then for AO4 we have 31,600. So we need to get the value of the closing stock for each of these model. All right, so let's calculate for AO2 units. We're going to say 10 times 24,300, and that gives me 243,000. 243,000. That is the amount. And then for AO3, we have 4 times 27,400, and that gives me 109,000. 109,600. And then for the last model, AO4, we have 8 times 31,600, and that gives me 252,800. So the total closing stock, the closing stock value for the 3 model, we're going to say 243,000 plus 109,600, and then plus 252,800. So the total closing stock here stands at 605,400. So that is how we calculate the closing stock using the specific identification method. Now, the next question here says, Beauty requires your advice on the 3 different models of motorbike in which he is trading. Explain 2 points of advice. Now, this person is asking for an advice on which of these motorbike should he or she stock more, or which should he or she stock less. Now, if you look at the AO2 motorbike, you can see that the sales for this product is less, is the least. The sales for this product is the least, despite the fact that the cost price is very, very what? Is very, very little compared to the other one. So we advise that the owner of this business should stock less of AO2 motorbike, and then it should invest more in what? AO3 motorbike. You can see that AO3 motorbike has the highest sales, hence it has a very low closing stock, which is good for the business. AO4 motorbike also is good, but more of AO3 than AO4, and then the owner of the business should buy less of AO2 motorbike. Pardon me, the owner of the business should buy less of AO2 motorbike but should invest more on AO3. All right. Now we have another question on the helmets. Beauty suspects that helmets are being stolen from the shop despite the security cameras installed. Provide calculation to verify his suspicion. So at this point, we're looking at the helmet. We are looking at the helmet, and you are going to be considering the units of the helmet. This person is suspecting that some stock were missing or stolen from the business. So you are asked to make a calculation to support the concern of the owner. So let's look at the number of helmets. All right, our opening stock, the number of our opening stock is 30, and then we bought a total unit of helmet. The total unit of helmet bought during the year was 75, and then returns, 5 defective helmets were returned. So we minus 5 that were returned, and then we minus the 85 that were sold. So how many helmets are we supposed to have as our closing stock? 30 plus 75 minus 5 and minus 85. We are supposed to have 15 helmets as our closing stock. But if you check your question, the closing stock stands at 12. The real closing stock recorded is 12. So meaning that 3 helmets were stolen. 3 helmets were stolen. And that is a calculation that is required of you. And then the next question says, what can beauty do to improve internal control of stock? State 3 points. Remember, they said this person already installed what? A camera. So we don't expect you to give us that answer of installing a camera, because the question already said a camera has been installed. So we can talk of proper authorization of what? Of stock. Proper authorization of the movement of stock. Somebody must be in charge of authorizing stocks that comes in and stock that goes out of the business. We can also talk about installing an alarm door in the business. Installation of alarm doors. And then you can also talk about proper authorization. Proper authorization of inflow and outflow of stock. And then installation of security door. Installation of security door. And then we can have a code, a security code on the products. Can also have security code on the product. And that is me for today. Thank you for watching. And if you have any question at all from any of the past question paper, feel free to contact us using the YouTube page that is being displayed on your screen right now, or you can contact maa'm Tutu from the WhatsApp page. Thank you very much. Feel free to watch the past episode, and then I will see you later as we discuss another topic regarding the paper 2. Thank you and bye for now.